So for a room full of journalists, you'll understand this. I finished this presentation on deadline, which means about an hour before I walked in the door. Any spelling mistakes are not mine, they're my editor's. And I don't actually know how long it takes, so it could be like a 5-minute thing or a 40-minute presentation. We'll figure it out, we'll wing it. Yeah, we'll wing it. So, I want to talk about the Weather Channel, and hopefully I'm going to tell you some things that surprise you, some things that surprised me, actually, when I joined the Weather Channel. I'm betting that the amount of information you know about the Weather Channel, other than the forecast, is about 0. That was for me too. By the way, it's a terrible idea before you take a job to not know anything about the company you're joining. I don't recommend it. But when I dug into it, I actually found some things that I found to be particularly mind-blowing. And what I'm going to show you in a minute, I know we saw some amazing technology this morning. I'm sure you'll see more of it tomorrow. But I am going to show you some technology that is so mind-blowing that no one in this room has ever seen anything like it. Give you a little preamble. Now, 3 decades before all the cool technologies we have today, before Xbox and smartphones, really before people even really were carrying cell phones, or at least before many people were carrying cell phones, when this guy was still cool, the Weather Channel out of Atlanta, Georgia, a small company, pioneered an amazing technological feat. And I give you this. Huh? This is amazing. So, by the way, what I loved about this YouTube clip was that in the comments, in the description the guy wrote, he was actually talking about how much he liked that particular soundtrack. That was apparently one of his favorites from 1990, so he brought it to you on YouTube. Now, that was actually 10 years after the Weather Channel was founded, so they had 10 years of iterations of getting that better. But why is it amazing? Why is it impressive, even though it looks so ridiculously uninteresting, right? It's that 30 years ago, they pulled off a feat that you still can't do today, which is that the Weather Channel figured out how to deliver data through the television to individual zip codes. And it sounds like an over-the-top kind of thing you do today. You would try to do through the Xbox, you're going to try to do through apps on smart TVs. They figured out how to do it through sending small pieces of data through satellite transmissions and then breaking them apart at the cable head end. And they were able to basically give you your local weather information while watching an analog device, basically an analog signal of television. They've upgraded it lots since, but still no other television company actually does this, right? That's why when you go to ESPN, you see one broadcast, you don't see all your local scores, same with CNN. So it was a pretty amazing feat, and soon after that, something kind of serendipitous happened. There was an enterprising engineer in the company who thought it'd be really neat if all the weather geeks at the Weather Channel, which are everybody, essentially, could have an email address with the word weather in it, at thewordweather.com. And this is before everyone really had, most people were having public email addresses, so he thought it'd be neat to get that domain. Didn't really think it was a business, just thought, hey, it'd be pretty cool to have a vanity address of like bill@weather.com. And then something funny happened that turned into an enormous opportunity. People started searching for things. You might recognize Alta Vista. Hopefully you don't recognize Alta Vista. This didn't work at all, by the way. This was before search actually functioned. And so not fully by accident, we kind of figured it out, but we rolled ourselves into what became a tremendous digital opportunity. This is our site today. And now we have 100 million people that turn over 1 billion pages a month on our site at weather.com. And it's turned into, pretty much the dominant player, we like to believe, in weather news and information online. But we had a problem. This guy's got a problem. What happens on the 300 days of the year in your market when the weather isn't all that dramatic, when there's not a giant snowstorm or a hurricane or a tornado, something that is serious, severe weather news? You don't turn to us as much. You don't care as much about us. You forget about us. Sure, you check us for a page or two if it's going to rain, but then you space out. You don't care. So what do? We invested money. We made it rain. We didn't make it rain. Journalism never makes it rain, by the way. We invested a little bit of money. And we started investing in things that I think matter to the people in this room, which is journalism and storytelling and production and quality. Some technology too, but it was really an investment in human beings that the company made to find storytellers who could inform us, educate us, deliver news, investigations, and entertainment that wasn't just weather data. We really tried to move beyond the forecast. We brought in some people from around the industry, a lot of digital folks, CBS News, HuffPost, Daily Beast. I mentioned the highly digital Audubon magazine, just because we like variety of interesting people to have interesting brains. You don't necessarily have to be the most digital human being on earth. You don't need to know every CMS. We made investments in things that I think matter. We invested heavily in photography. And we really expanded the editorial focus of the company, not to be just the forecast and just weather, but to try to be the official homepage of Mother Nature. We tried to move beyond what people might think of us as a brand. And that takes us to really cool places around the planet. Action, adventure, travel, takes us to the most stunning natural phenomena on Earth, wild animals, and interesting cultures. We built video production that we hadn't had before. Now, we're a television company, so you think, well, we've got tons of production, but it turns out, if you kind of get into the belly of the beast of how this works, that often television production isn't particularly targeted towards digital and towards mobile in particular usage. On television, you have to fill up time. On digital, you have to cut time. You have to stop wasting my time, stop talking, get to it. And so we're built exactly the opposite on the television side, right? It's a man and a map, and we're trying to just build up, get you through an hour. So we started building, we had to build our own production capacity, and now we're doing 20 videos a day in all kinds of topics, not just weather, but half of it is severe weather, and the other half, again, are travel and science and cool nature, amazing phenomena happening around the planet, heartwarming stories, sometimes heart-tugging stories, and occasionally some guy catches a 3,000-pound fish, and we're there for you. We also made investments in longer form journalism, in some documentary journalism, and we launched a site called Weather Films, which isn't something that you might think that the company would do, which is why we did it. We launched a beautiful site. This is the web version, and we launched 5 series last year, and they were 6-part series, and all of them were sort of stunningly shot, gorgeous HD series. And this is the mobile version. And to tell you the truth, we did the mobile version second, and I almost wish we did it first because I kind of like it better. It actually is a little bit of a simpler read, talking to some of the interface conversation from earlier today. It just cuts away a lot of the stuff and gets you right into the good stuff, which I like. And this year we're investing in 6 short docs, all on the investigative side. And again, things you wouldn't expect the weather company to do. And I think in a room full of journalists, I think this is important. We can still invest in these things. We had a lot of conversation today, I think, about platforms and technology and data. But really, I mean, at least for me, I got into this for stories about human beings and to do things that felt like they mattered from person to person. And it doesn't matter what the data platform is to me for that. The important thing is you have to get people who you can give them some investment to go out in the field and go report some real stories. So for us, America Burning was a doc we just did about 19 firefighters who died in Arizona last year. You guys probably heard about that in the news. 6 months later, we had some of the only interviews with the surviving widows and got into the science of why wildfires are getting more dangerous and bigger each year. Climate change plays a part, so does drought. Fracking and toxic air, we did an 8-month investigation into, everyone's talking about water quality with fracking. Turns out that air quality might also be a huge issue. They off-gas some of the most toxic chemicals on the planet. Open question as to how much of that exposure goes into your lungs, body, and brain, but who wants any of it? So that's an open issue. We took a look at homelessness. This is actually coming out in 2 weeks. It's called Down and Out in Anchorage, Homeless in America's Coldest City. My company always focuses on traditionally what happens in the winter to people who have cars and planes and homes, not have planes, but flying planes. So we decided to flip that on its head a little bit and try to find out what it's like for homeless people in the coldest city in America to survive winter. The answer is it is difficult and sad. to watch, but also sort of courageous. So that's the kind of slate of cool stuff we're doing that you might not expect from us. So here's something cool the digital unit is also doing. We're making television, which not a lot of digital units get to do. So we're part of 5 hours of primetime TV that's coming out in April called Will to Live. These are stories of survival. People faced an unbelievable battle with Mother Nature and had the courage to survive, and it's shot like an action movie. But these are all completely real stories. And it's pretty cool to be at a company that's investing enough in the digital side that our work is showing up on television on a daily basis, and also to do primetime specials with them. So all of this investment has worked, which is the cool part. The appetite for video content, as ESPN will tell you, is enormous and growing quickly. This is basically except for Hurricane Sandy, which is a kind of anomaly event that blew away any video views we're likely to do anytime soon. You basically have this fantastic journey upward to people watching 110 in January, actually up to 125 million video views, all platforms in February. So that number is getting better. And I don't have the mobile number broken out individually, but it's a better hockey stick than this. The mobile's gone way up. And here's some cool stuff that surprised me when I got the data, that actually our viewership for video is in some respects better on mobile than on web. It's larger on web. There's a bigger audience that's consuming video, but it comes down to the people who do like it. They're actually watching more videos per session on mobile, and on a per user basis are watching more per month. Again, a small number of users, but they're more involved and engaged. And the completion rates are kicking ass of web, which really pisses me off, because I have to run the website of the business too. But it's great that people are this engaged, which we love. So, all right, good for you. You showed a bunch of fancy stuff, but what about mobile and the fact that that's the future and web might be the past? So what are you going to do about it? Here's a cool stat from Business Insider. I'm going to steal two of them. I think this is kind of neat. Obviously, mobile isn't the biggest behemoth yet, but it's the one that's growing the fastest and the only one that's actually really growing. TV is obviously the monster. It's kind of declining a little bit. Online's holding steady, but kind of losing it in the last year or two. So you guys know this from your personal experience. Mobile is a monster. It's how you're consuming content now. It's how you're consuming everything. You are not unique. You are not alone. And mobile video is kind of where it's at. This is the enormous opportunity for us as journalists, as content creators. And what a cool moment it is, right? To get to make content for a new medium like this. It's actually an awesome moment. And the bar to get something on television is super, super high. Not that much can go through each channel, each hour. But now that the proliferation of mobile devices, mobile technology, every news site gets a chance. And that's a great opportunity for journalists and creators in this room. All right, so how are we dealing with stuff? What's our next move? So this is a sneak preview of the iPhone app that's coming out in 2.5 weeks. On the outside is actually the iPhone app. In the middle is our mobile web experience. I don't know how many people in this room have our app, the Weather Channel app, in their pockets. All right, not bad, not bad. You'll notice it's designed pretty darn ugly. Doesn't look very good. The data's phenomenal, but doesn't look good. So we're changing it, we're making it beautiful, and we're making a much more powerful content experience than we've had before. There's actually a ton of people on this app already, about 40 million. So it's a big news opportunity for us, right? So you might notice in the app today, there's video, but there's no news. We're changing that. We'll have a news reader now, and we're reformatting all of our content to fit well in the mobile experience. I think, right, you asked me, are we ahead or behind? I think right now we're behind. Our mobile experience looks pretty bad. Talk to me in 2.5 weeks. I think we'll be a little bit ahead. Here's some of our, by the way, cool long-form stuff. So everyone thinks mobile is always short, which is true. Being short helps. But we're also designing these journalistic investigations. We're doing these long-form pieces, documentaries, and I think this one is, this is actually 12,000 words over here, Fracking the Eagle Ford. We're doing them on mobile screens as well, and they're making them look beautiful in responsive environments. So they're designed for all 3 screens. On the technology side, fast start video is a huge, huge thing. You kind of made me talk about this before. I think Vine and Instagram are blowing it out when it comes to this. They've sort of made us completely rethink how video works, in the sense that video used to be a thing you make and it takes time, and then it goes through a compressor, and there's like 50 people's hands on it, and slog us through the journalism machine, the editing machine, and then the technology machine, which takes a while to get it out the door. And then you come to our website, and it even takes you a while to play it. Like you click play, and then it has to load, and like the pages are dense, and it's kind of, it never occurred to me that it could be different until you play with Vine. It's like, oh, I could just watch 50 videos in about 30 seconds, which is totally amazing. So we spend a lot of money on the back end of this to make this super fast, quick play video experience, but we're still not where Vine and Instagram are. That's where we need to go. On the mobile side, who's doing it well, I think, who's interesting? Our friends ESPN are actually in this screen. I think the sports guys are a little bit ahead of everybody else on news. They've moved to a stream model, which you recognize from Facebook, and Twitter kind of pioneered this style. No longer really it's different from the traditional news site, right, which is going to have the homepage editor who's curating the top experience. These are basically stream editors, which are editing the stream experience you'll experience. And it just allows you to consume content so quickly. And it's small bites, which is interesting. Each one of these things, I don't know how many people know TeamStream, but it could be a tweet, it could be a Vine, it could be one replay, one dunk, or it could be an analysis, or it could be a full article. I mean, all those things are kind of peeking behind here and lets you jump in and out of that, which is really cool. I'll commend ESPN. They've actually, this is somewhat Vine-like in this experience. The video plays in the stream, and it's pretty fantastic, and it plays really, really quickly. Someone this morning was talking about location and whether that matters, and can we build hyperlocal products for people in this business? The answer for us, the Weather Channel, is yes. Location is obviously a huge deal, and when we have severe storms, it really, really matters, right? So we've got new technology now. We can bring you all of our severe coverage depending on where you are standing. However, there's a real open question to me does it always matter? And how much does it matter when? If you live someplace boring, is the news in your town really all that interesting? I don't know. There's a reason why People Magazine and the paparazzi are sitting in Hollywood and not in 1,000 other zip codes in America. Doesn't mean local news isn't important. It's just not clear to me that it will click better or engage better all the time than other stuff. Being able to know where you're standing does not necessarily mean I know what interests you. And some of our local tests to date on the website, where we know your zip code, we found that interesting beat proximity. So our national content, which was less focused on where you lived, was beating out the hyperlocal content about 3 to 1 in terms of how much interest people had in it. It's totally surprising. Doesn't mean it's the same for every company, it's just what we found. All right, old school. So newspaper sites, and if anyone's associated with the Boston Globe or LA Times in this room, I apologize. I wasn't picking on them on purpose. I could have picked lots of newspaper sites, and these guys actually do a good job of building responsive mobile web experiences in that they work and they're fast and they're good, but I just wonder if it feels like a newspaper instead of feeling like something that might be a next-gen mobile app. When I look at some of the new school guys, are they doing it right? We're going to find out. The public will tell us, but I thought these guys had some really cool designs. Felt richer in media. It still loaded really fast. It was built actually for mobile from the ground up. The Verge is an awesome new technology site, and Network A is a action sports kind of YouTube network. But the design, I think, is some pretty engaging experiences, and there's things for us to learn from. Another new school cat that's almost mid-school at this point, they've been out a couple years now, is Buzzfeed. How many people read or share or get links from Buzzfeed? Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? What are they, like 4 years old or something? You probably have more links in your inbox from Buzzfeed than you do from the LA Times or the Boston Globe. And those guys have been doing it for 100 years, and they're darn good at it. So the mobile experiences, for me, actually, I think this kind of works. This is not their app, this is their mobile web, but you can feel its difference. Photo heavy, but up high. So there's a lot of information, a lot of great news up high. I actually think that's a totally not clicky headline for NOAA, so I'm surprised they put it up there. But and then you get to the actual article page, and they literally smash you over the head with the social buttons, right? It's like, a designer would probably, if you went to design school, they would tell you never to do this. It's a complete violation of everything they hold dear, right? But they basically have double up on the share buttons twice within like 100 pixels of each other, because it works. That's why you have them in your inbox. Also, they make really fun stuff, which I think is a big, big thing that we haven't talked about at all when you talk about all this technology. I mean, in my mind, none of it really matters except the technology you have in your brain, which is the human technology to be interesting and relevant, which matters a lot more than the algorithms. And that's why guys like Buzzfeed, even though they have cool tech, and Upworthy, I'm going to show that in a minute, they have great editorial voice. They make you remember them. You know what they're about. They've got human beings, and they've trained each one of the people. They have a Buzzfeed Academy, if you can believe it. They teach you how to do that. Upworthy. How many people have Upworthy in their email box, or sharing it, or sharing it on social? Who's reading Upworthy? Less. All right. You're listicle people on Buzzfeed, I see. You like cat animations. It's okay. You're not bad people. Upworthy is, how many people know Upworthy? All right, everyone's heard about it. All right, they're taking social by storm. Their stats are unbelievable. They're smaller than Buzzfeed, yes, they're much newer. They've grown a lot faster, and they've basically figured out how to package news in a way that makes everyone share it all the time. They're really, really good at this, right? So I kind of did like the Upworthy, not worthy. This is my version over here, like how, this is how an old school news organization would probably package this story. With humor, TED Talk shines light on cerebral palsy. This is how Upworthy did it. No mention of cerebral palsy. A gorgeous woman shakes her body on stage, and the crowd goes wild. You can guess which one performed better, right? Here's another kind of version of this. Racial profiling film raises ethical questions for lawmakers. Certainly a fine headline that tells you the story. Meet the 17-year-old who blew the lid off racial profiling with his iPod. And drop the mic for Upworthy, because that one works. So there's a big, there's an open question, I guess, for us in the news business as we create and package the content that we write. Do we want to play this game? Is this okay? I don't know. I think it's a question for all of us, but I feel that, when SEO came along, it was kind of that same problem where everyone felt there's a right way to write a news headline. This is how we've done it. This is the way newspaper headlines should be. That convention, by the way, just came from how printing presses work and how many letters you could fit on inches of paper, but the technology of the time. But when SEO came along, you had to reconstruct headlines completely, and a lot of news organizations still do not do it, even the biggest ones. New York Times and CNN don't. I don't know if they're in the room, but they don't bother with it. Maybe they don't have to. But SEO total works. So this is the social version of it. Are we going to play this game or not? I think we should, because people like it. It makes people read important topics. How about Instagram? I'm kind of addicted a little bit to what these guys are doing now. This news with Instagram. I don't know if has anyone seen what these guys are doing? A couple, few each time. All right, we're going farther down the rabbit hole. It's not. I don't think it's super breakthrough, but it's pretty neat and a little bit addictive. So basically, they're doing 15-second newscasts, and I didn't. Oh wait, this link may work, right? Do you have web here? We don't know.
We do. Right now we do.
In the next 15 seconds, hopefully, we have web. Quick! Panic! Yeah, well. There's text down there. You can't really read it. A lot of them have voiceover. That one didn't in particular, but you can kind of like, in 15, you can just go through like 5 or 6 of these really quickly and get your news update really fast, which is a different way of thinking than we're usually, as news producers, thinking about creating this stuff. I think it's pretty darn effective. And the last, well, that was my closing slide, but it wasn't my closing thought, because I didn't have a closing thought when I was putting this presentation together. And then sitting here this morning, actually I figured out my closing thought, which is the technology is interesting, but it kind of doesn't matter. The key is storytelling. The key is figuring out as journalists what's interesting. Computers are really good at filtering data. They're really shitty at figuring out what's actually interesting. And the guys who've built interesting new businesses in journalism are the guys who are working the curiosity gap and the interest gap and figuring out what entertains you, what informs you, and what makes you wild enough with passion to share it with all your friends. And I think that's what matters on mobile more than the iPhones, iPads, et cetera, and the technology behind it. Those are my thoughts. So,
Thank you,
Thank you.
Neil.